All right, welcome to the Outstanding Ohio Education event of the month. This month we are talking about the chicken or the egg. Should you buy first or should you sell first? This is a hard thing for people that own a home and are thinking about making a move, and it can be very overwhelming because you're thinking, oh my gosh, like I don't want to end up without a house. I don't want to end up with two mortgages. What if I can't find what I want quick enough or my house sells too quickly? And it is complicated, but there are options, and I've kind of broken it down in a way that's going to help you think about it. And is a very personal thing depending on your situation too. So I'm going to share my screen here and share with you what I have. Okay, slideshow. Here we go. All right. So I've come up with this kind of decision matrix that there's really three questions that you have to answer. And the first one starts with the financial means. So, do you have the means to buy a house without selling your current house first? So, that would mean the money for a down payment and the ability to qualify for a mortgage because they don't know, eventually you're not going to have that second mortgage, but you have to be able to qualify to have both mortgages or be able to pay in cash. And the good news here is that I think a lot of people think, oh, no, there's no way that I would have that money. But down payments, there are options out there for 0%, 3%, 5%. You may be thinking, I don't have 20% for the down payment. So there are some very low options for down payments. Also, there are options to like borrow from your 401k for a period of time and pay it back without penalties. Like there's more options than what you might think of in terms of how to get that money and how to make that work, because it really should be a temporary situation that you would have both houses. And so I would suggest talking to your trusted lender. I can recommend one, or your financial advisor about that to see if you can figure out how to swing buying the house first without selling. And what else did I want to mention here? Um, it'll come to me. So if you can say yes, if you figured out that yes, you can afford to do that first, then we're going to go down this path on the left. So the next question you have to answer is, are you okay with living in the house while it's listed? So people coming into your house, having to get out of the house for showings, having the house like ready to show. So being able to declutter and clean it and keep it cleaned and ready to show for a period of time. I always say this gets more complicated the more people and the more animals and children and stuff involved, that it might be difficult to A, get it clean in the first place, and then B, keep it clean with all those people in the house, and then get them out of the house every time that you have to have a showing. So just something to think about. Some people are just weirded out about it. They don't want people in their house. They don't want people looking at their things. And either you're okay with it or you're not, I guess, right? So you have to consider, are you okay with that? And if you are, then I would suggest that the option A, which is you go ahead and find the house that you want to buy first. And then as soon as you're under contract and you're pretty sure it's going to go forward, you can go ahead and sell your house immediately. You could almost do it concurrently, but you're going to buy first. So you're going to make sure that you found the house that you want to buy, and then you're going to sell, and you may end up with two mortgages for a period of time. And we're going to go deeper into these things too. If you're not okay living in the house while it's listed, then your option really is to go ahead and buy first and then move out into the new house, get settled into the new house, and then you can sell your current house vacant, or you can leave a couple pieces of furniture to kind of leave it staged. But then you don't have to worry about people coming into your house and keeping it clean and keeping the kids and the dogs and all the stuff. So that's kind of this first half of, if you do have the means to buy a home without selling first, kind of what those options look like. Now, if you don't, and a lot of people don't, and it is what it is, right? So it's like you either do or you don't. If you don't have the means, or you're not comfortable with that, buying a house without selling first, then the next question you have to ask yourself is, do you have a place, or can you find a place to stay temporarily while you shop for the new home? So, can you stay with a family member? Do you have maybe a lake house? Are you willing to stay in a long-term, hotel rental, rent a place? Maybe you have a trailer you can live in for a period of time. Do you have that option? And are you willing to have that option? And again, that gets more complicated, I think, the more people are involved, right? If it's just you or you and a partner, maybe you're willing to live in a hotel for a period of time. But if you got, three kids and two dogs and a cat, adds a lot of complexity to trying to find someone that would let all those people live with them, or to find, in a hotel that allows pets and all that good stuff. And then kind of along with that is it's probably going to mean that you're going to have to move twice. So it's likely that you might sell your home and you don't have the new home lined up yet. So you're going to have to like move into this temporary location and then move again to the other place. So a little bit of hassle there, and probably some costs. Unless the temporary location can hold all of your stuff, you're probably going to have to put it in storage, which means you're going to pay the movers twice if you have movers, because they're going to move it into storage, and then you have to pay to move them out of storage, and then you're going to have a monthly storage fee. So again, it shouldn't be, a very long period of time, but at a minimum, you're going to be paying those movers twice if you're using movers. So if you do have a place that you can go and you're willing to do that, then your best option here is C, where you should sell first. So get your house sold, go ahead and move out into that temporary location, and then you can buy later. You can kind of buy at your leisure, wait till the right thing comes along. If you don't want to deal with moving twice or don't have a place you can go, then option D is to sell first and then basically buy immediately, like kind of do it concurrently. And this gets a little tricky, and kind of the stars have to align. So you still need a plan B, like if it doesn't work out. But I'm going to go deeper into each of those four options now, and kind of what are some of the pros and cons and considerations of them. So hopefully you have like some idea of maybe what options feel better for you at this point. Okay, so first is the option A. So you're kind of simultaneously buying and selling, with buying first and then selling. So this is good for those that have financial flexibility. So again, you have to be able to qualify to purchase without having sold and having the proceeds of your sale. If you're in a situation where you don't absolutely have to move, so you kind of have the time to do this. If you're particular about what you want, like I'm only going to move if I find this perfect house, then you better find the perfect house before you sell yours, because you could end up with that house. If your current house is one that's likely to sell quickly, that's obviously helpful. And then if you're building, this is a good situation as well. So the pros are, again, you ensure that you find that house that you want to buy or to build, and you don't have to move twice. Cons, you do need to have that financing to buy without selling first. And you potentially may need to accept a lower price or price your house lower just to make sure that it sells quickly. You can't be like, well, let me just price it really high and see what happens, because that could take longer. And you would be living in the home while you're trying to sell it. So you do have to be able to do that. So some risks, some caveats, some things to be thinking about is, ideally, if you buy your home with a 45-day close and then like put your current home on the market like immediately, there's a chance that you could close that home in like maybe 30 days with like a week or two extra possession, and end up actually selling before buying, even though you made the buying decision first. I know that's kind of confusing, but you basically find the home you're going to buy. You say, I'm going to buy this at, let's say it was June 1st, you're going to close on July 15th. And then maybe on June 7th, you put your house up for market on the market, you get under contract quickly, and you close like July 10th with a 10-day extra possession. So you're going to get the proceeds from selling your home on July 10th. You get to live in it until another July 20th, and then you can take possession of the new home on July 15th. So you can line it up that it works out and that there doesn't end up being a gap. The stars do kind of have to align for that, but it is possible with the way the market's been. There is a risk that you might end up with two mortgages for a period of time if you buy your house and then you put your house on the market and it doesn't sell quickly or close quick enough. But the other option here is a home sale contingency, where you make your purchase contingent upon selling your current home. That is starting to be a little bit more acceptable, but it does put you at somewhat of a disadvantage. If you're in a multiple offer situation and you're saying, I'll buy this home, but I have to sell mine first, and they have another offer that doesn't have that, they're likely not going to take your offer. So although in theory that is an option, depending on the situation of the home you're trying to buy, it might not win you the deal and it might not work out for you. Okay, so that was option A, where you're kind of buying first and selling immediately after. And then option B, where you're buying first, you move out, and then you're selling the house. So again, this is best for if you have that financial flexibility that you can afford to buy without selling. If you're in a situation where you don't absolutely have to move and you're particular about what you want. But also, to me, this is ideal for people that have kids, pets, you work from home, like where it's just hard for you to show that house and have it be show ready, like while you're still living in it. If you're immunocompromised, it would be another reason. You have just so much stuff and you can't declutter enough to like make it show worthy. This could be a good option for you. So again, it helps make sure from a pro standpoint that you're finding the house that you want to buy or build. You don't have to move twice and you don't have to live in the house while it's selling. So that gives more flexibility with the showings and you just don't have to worry about it. Cons, again, you have to have that financing to buy without selling first. You're likely going to have two mortgages for a period of time. Might only be a couple of months, but it, could be. And there's some instances where the house doesn't show quite as well when it's empty or it's vacant. So, caveats, you might want to consider staging the house if it's empty, or I've had clients that will leave a few key pieces of furniture behind just for the showings and then they move the rest of it later. And the process is likely to take a little bit longer to do it this way. Okay, so then option C, where you're selling first, you're moving out into some temporary location, and then you're buying. So this is best for if you do need the money from the sale of your house to make your next purchase. If you have a house that maybe is not going to sell quickly, or you're a little bit worried that it's a little bit quirky, or maybe it's going to take a little bit longer to sell. If you absolutely have to move, then just you got to do what you got to do, right? So if you have to move, you have to sell it. And if you have a temporary place to stay, then that's great for people that are in that situation. The pros are you're not going to end up with two mortgages, but you might end up with you're going to have rent maybe for a period of time. You do have those proceeds from the sale for the next down payment. The opportunity to maximize the sale, so you know exactly what you're going to make. So sometimes it's tricky when you're buying first and you're like, I think I can sell my house for this, but you don't really know till you get it on the market and you get an offer. In this case, because it's already sold, you know exactly what you're getting from that sale and you're able to, maximize that. And you're able to take the time to find the house that you want. So you've sold it, you know how much money you have, and you have a temporary location, so you can take the time to find what you want to buy. From a con standpoint, again, you are living in the house while it's being listed and being shown and so forth. You are pretty much going to have to move twice. You will need some kind of temporary housing option, and you may or have to pay for storage if your temporary place doesn't hold all your stuff. So risks or caveats here, there is a risk that maybe you can't find a place to buy and you end up in that temporary housing for a long time. Like if you're really particular about what you want, and you're not willing to settle on things, like maybe it could be 6 months or a year, or who knows, right? But on the other hand, you may not have to move twice if you sell your house with extra possession time and then find another house quickly. So I had a client that did this last summer. They were able to get their house under contract with an additional 60 days of possession. So I think it was a 30-day close. And then they had 60, so they got their money on closing date, 30 days in, but they were able to stay in their house an additional 2 months. So we worked really hard as soon as they got under contract, but they couldn't really write their offer until they knew they had the money. Like that, those 2 to 4 weeks. We basically had 2 to 4 weeks to try to get them under contract with a 30-day close so that they could get into the new home before they sold their current home. So it is possible that you don't have to move to that temporary location if you can sell, get that extended possession, and find something that you want to buy quickly. So if you're in that situation, I definitely recommend like starting to look at houses before you put your house on the market. Get a feel for, am I looking for what I call a unicorn? Like that we've only sold 5 of those in the last year, or there's 5 of those in a week of like what you're looking for. And if there's a lot of inventory or in acceptable inventory of houses you'd be willing to live in, then there's a greater chance that would work out for you. And then the last option is kind of that simultaneous selling and buying, but you're selling first. So this is good for, again, if you need the money, the proceeds to buy your new house, if you have a house that may not sell quickly, and you want to maximize the sale. And again, you want to know exactly how much money you're getting. You don't end up with the 2 mortgages. You do have the proceeds for the down payment and the opportunity to maximize that sale. Cons, you are living in the house while it's listed. And you may have to settle or overpay on that next house. Like if you're in a hurry and you're like, I got to find a house right now, you may have to overbid on it, or maybe not get everything that you want. So so I guess I jumped the gun a little bit. That example I gave here is maybe more applicable here. Could be applicable in the last one, but you got to ask for that extra possession time on your sale, and a quick close on your purchase to time that up to make it work perfectly. You need a backup plan in case it doesn't work out, and you should start house hunting early. And the other thing here is you could sell contingent upon finding a new home, because it is a seller's market and the sellers can ask for what they want. You could say, the sale of my home is contingent upon me finding another home within a certain period of time. So we go under contract today, and I write into the contract that I need 30 days to find a place. So that is a possibility, that's a little bit more acceptable than the reverse of the buyer saying, I want it to be contingent upon me being able to sell my other home, because the market's still more in the seller's favor. Okay, so with that being said, I'm going to go over two more things, which is home sale contingencies and home sale concurrencies. So a home sale contingency is where the purchase of the new home is contingent upon the successful sale of the buyer's current home. So the buyer is only going to proceed with that purchase if they're able to sell their existing home within that specified period of time. And again, this is not really preferred. Like if a seller has another option, it's just more risk for them, because it's like, well, now I have to worry about if and when you can sell your home in order to get my home sold. But if they don't have other offers, or maybe your offer is just so strong, there's a chance they could go for it. And also, there's a difference in a home sale contingency of like, I'm going to sell my home, but I haven't even listed it yet, versus it's listed, it's under contract, under contract, past inspections, past appraisals. Basically, the further along it is in the process, it's less risk to the seller, because it's like, okay, well, it's contingent upon you selling your house, but you've already got it under contract, you already passed inspections, it's supposed to close in a week. It seems like a pretty sure deal, like never say never, but this seems a little less risky than, yeah, I'm planning to sell my house, but I haven't even listed it yet. So for what that's worth. But basically, it's a set period of time that they have to try to secure a buyer for their new home. It typically, there's an end date to this contingency. And if they're not able to sell their home within that time frame, then the buyer can pull out and say, okay, sorry, I can't buy this house because I didn't get my house sold. And it provides that protection for the buyer to make sure they're not obligated to buy the new home until they basically know they can sell their existing one. So it does protect the buyer more than the seller. But then another option that is more amenable to the seller, but a little bit more risky to the buyer, is a home sale concurrency. So this means you're offering to purchase the home when your home sells. So similar to the contingency, but the difference here is that you are not asking the seller to take theirs off the market. So they can continue to market the property and accept offers and keep it active in the MLS until your home gets under contract. So it's kind of a race. I think of it as like a race to see who can sell their home first. So it's like, okay, Mr. Seller, I gave you an offer, you like it, you accept this concurrency, but you're still trying to sell it, and you're going to see if you can find another offer that maybe doesn't have a concurrency, or is more money or better terms or whatever. And I'm going to go ahead and put mine on the market and see if I can get mine sold first. Maybe I should do it this way. And it's like, okay, who's going to get theirs under contract first? And if the buyer gets theirs under contract first, then you more officially go under contract. They take it off the market. It typically reverts to like a contingency agreement. Like we still have to make sure that sale closes, but we're no longer like waiting for it to go under contract. If the seller gets another offer first before the buyer does, they can accept that offer and just provide notice to the buyer. Now, of course, it depends on what the agreement says and so forth, but typically that's how it works. And then the buyer loses out. I represented a seller this year that had accepted an offer with a concurrency, and they got another offer before the buyer. It was like the same day the buyer listed their property. So the buyer like barely got a chance, but they took a couple of days to get it listed. And the other offer was it was more money and just much cleaner terms. And it was definitely in the best interest of the seller, but it ended up putting the buyer kind of out of luck. So it does, like I said, it does more protect the seller in this instance. But because it's such a seller's market, you kind of have to play the game. Like if you want to get your offer accepted, you got to do something that's going to be acceptable to the seller. And the concurrency is much more amenable than a contingency, because the contingency, they do have to take it off of the market. Usually they change the status to under contract, allow showings, but nobody really is looking at it at that point when it's pending. Versus the concurrency, it stays active. Okay, so that was a lot, I know. But I am happy to answer any questions, or if you have any scenarios you want to talk through, or you can always call me and we can go through your situation one-on-one. All right. Well, thank you for your time today, and feel free to call me. And like I said, it can be a very personalized decision, and really have to think through some of the pros and cons and what makes most sense for you and your individual situation. And happy to consult with you on that. And I had a client last year that was trying to decide, they were building and trying to time the sale of their house with the building. They really wanted the proceeds of the sale to go towards the new build, but they didn't know exactly when the new build was going to be done. And we were also trying to decide whether to list before Christmas or after Christmas. So I was able to put together a spreadsheet of like, okay, if you list on this date and get under contract quickly and ask for this much possession, this is when you'd have to be out by. And if you did it this date, and went through some pros and cons and scenarios with them to see what felt best for them. So happy to do that for you, and always here to be a resource. And again, thank you for your time. Have a great day.